Welcome back. Oh my god. Don't worry about that. Boy, do we have an episode for you. In this fine episode here, I will be talking about cross pollination. From what I've learned, I'm not a pro at this. I'm a newbie. And I'll keep letting you know that until I'm not a newbie. I am pulling this from some sources online. This is something new I found out this year. As you know from the first episode, I'm new to gardening. I don't know much. So I'm always kind of learning all this new stuff here. And one thing on one of the first days I worked, I've only been working for about a month at this nursery, was that cross-pollination is a thing. Cross-pollination is when, so you'll buy, say, like a fruit tree. It'll say on the label usually, but sometimes they recommend that you either buy two of the trees or one fruit tree and another fruit tree. And it's in hopes that you'll get a better crop, if I'm correct. Now, we do have some sources I'm going to pull up here to figure out the actual answer. But from what I've heard, that's kind of the reason. You're going to be getting like a better fruit crop that year as long as you have multiple multiple trees or whatever you're planting. So sometimes it can go between like different fruits. So if it's like an apple, it's usually with another apple. But if I'm correct, a crabapple tree and a specific type of crabapple tree can pollinate a bunch of different fruits like apricots and plums and stuff. But then some are self-pollinators, like I think an apricot and a plum actually are. So never mind that last bit. It's interesting stuff. This also works with blueberries and blueberry bushes and all that. Well, there's only the one type, and it's blueberry bushes. But blueberries work when you have different varieties. Usually it's better if it's different varieties as opposed to the same variety. But if you have two different varieties, you'll usually end up getting a better amount or more blueberries on there because of the cross-pollination. Something to do with bees, I'm sure. They're doing their thing. Wish I could go more on that, but I don't know much about bees. I'm not like a biologist. Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention in the first episode that I live on Vancouver Island in Canada. Upper Vancouver Island, middle Vancouver Island. So, pretty fortunate when it comes to Canadian weather. We have a pretty good ecosystem out here and a pretty good system. I'll have to go over it in another episode too because this one confuses the crap out of me. But zones, something I also recently learned about was there's multiple zones for different areas. And so if I'm correct, Vancouver Island is where I live anyways on Vancouver Island. We go from zone 7 to zone 9 because it's at the ocean and then all of a sudden it's at the up in the mountain. So you have a lot of elevation change there, and because of that elevation change, the zones change quite rapidly. But excuse me, again, zones are. It's gonna be like a whole episode explaining that because there's a lot to it of what it does. I mean, it's pretty generic, but there's still a lot to talk about with it. Okay. So, as I mentioned already, the blueberry one was the first thing I learned on that first day. It was that different varieties of blueberries, which there are hundreds of varieties of blueberries. You'll have to, if you mix the varieties, you'll get a better crop. So, a popular one that we sell is the Chandler, and I think that's like a bigger blueberry, if I'm correct. I've heard from gardeners at the store or at the nursery, is that the Duke, they've had the best luck with like the biggest and sweetest berry, the biggest and sweetest blueberry. But then when I Googled it, it told me the Chandler was. So again, maybe I'm just going to have to try and plant some myself and figure out the answer for it. But it sounded like more people were saying the Duke was a better one. But Google, I guess, lied to me, which isn't new. That happens. So people will plant, you'd want to plant like the Chandler. Let's just see. And then another type would be like a Polaris. And so say you plant both of those there, you'll have a really good crop. I'm not too sure if it would be this season or the next season from the cross-pollination. You'll have more berries than if you were to just plant one blueberry or even the same variety of that. You might actually still get some pretty good if you have two of the same. But you do need like some cross-pollination there. It's going to help with like the amount. Yep. So that's what I know. And then it does get more where when you get into fruit trees, because like I said earlier, like apple trees, it will say on the list of like, it's like, oh, if you have this kind of tree, it can help pollinate this. Or it can work as a cross-pollination for this. So like, it's always good to check with your neighbors to see what they have. Usually you just ask them. Don't just like go into their backyard. I mean, especially if you're dressed like this, that would be a big no-no. Can't just go in their backyard and be like, what kind of tree you got? Maybe go ask them and be like, what kind of fruits you bearing, brethren? That's what normal people ask. What kind of fruit you bearing, brother? Okay, so this is from Cannondale.ca, the fruit tree pollination guide. So at work we also follow like a pollination guide list that tells us of what pollinators work with what, or what you can pollinate with what else. If that made any sense whatsoever. Selecting types of fruit trees. Okay, apples, favorite fruit tree to grow. Yeah, that's fair. There's so many apple trees everywhere, hey? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of apples, but they are good for you, right? An apple a day. Okay, plant 2 or more different varieties for cross-pollination to bear fruit. Flowering crabs and wild apples will serve as pollination too. Okay, for cross-pollination to bear fruit. So it sounds like it's saying for you to even get fruit, you need to have another tree. So you're not even going to get fruit, it sounds like, without even having a cross-pollination. With apples, anyways. Pears sound a little different. Plant 2 or more different varieties for best fruit production. So there we go. So when it comes to pears, I like pears. I didn't even mean to say it like that. It just came out. Pears. It's ingrained in me. Plant 2 or more, different varieties for best fruit production. So that's like the blueberries, where you're going to get a better sized crop if you have 2 or more different varieties, as opposed to the apple having it just like to just bear fruit. Just to have fruit, you need to have cross pollination. Plums are self-pollinating, which is pretty cool. Only one variety is needed to bear fruit, so you can just plant a plum tree and thus plums will appear. That's pretty rad. For European types, Japanese types plant 2 or more varieties for cross-pollination. You didn't hear any of that though, right? Doesn't matter. Apricots. Most are partially self-pollinating. You will get some fruit with only one tree. However, planting 2 or more varieties will increase fruit yield significantly, just like the pears. So you'll get fruit with the apricots, If you plant one but two, you'll get a couple, which is pretty sweet. Sweet. Oh, that's weird. And it says cherries. Sweet. Stella is self-pollinating. Other kinds like Bing need two different varieties for cross-pollination. Sour cherries are self-pollinating. So a little bit of a mix there. Peaches and nectarines are self-pollinating. Only one variety is needed to bear fruit, and open shut case there. Like that's it. It says there. Okay, and then a complete line of fruit trees. Oh, never mind. They're just freaking selling me on why I should go shop there. Never mind. Yeah, so that's kind of a little rundown on that with all the different fruit trees. Okay, I was gonna go dive in a little bit too. I know this is a riveting video. What is cross-pollination? Yeah, so I just wanted to go over like the what is cross-pollination and then the why, because I think those are important things to know, because I also am not too sure of like what or why. Cross-pollination happens when pollen from the flower of one tree transfers to the flower of a different tree of the same species or a compatible variety. This transfer enables fertilization, which leads to fruit development, unlike self-pollinating trees that can use their own pollen. Dope. Kind of like a seahorse, I think. Or is that just where the male carries its own? I know there's some type of species that can just like make babies. They're like, I don't even need anybody. I'll just make a baby myself. Many fruit trees require pollen from another tree to produce fruit. For example, apple trees often need pollen from a different apple variety nearby. Without this pollen exchange, the flowers may bloom but fail to develop into fruit. Cross-pollination increases genetic diversity, which can improve fruit quality and yield. Yeah, and then the why. I mean, that kind of explained the why. So it's going to trees like plums often need pollen from a different variety. So they're saying it improves fruit quality and size. Cross-pollination can lead to a larger, better-shaped fruits with improved taste. The genetic mix from different trees enhances fruit characteristics, which is pretty cool. I mean, I wish that it would like change the actual taste of it, but instead it's just saying here that it just does make it a little better for a genetic mix. I'm a bit of a genetic mix myself, actually, so that means technically that I'm enhanced. Supports tree health and longevity. Trees that successfully cross-pollinate tend to be healthier and more vigorous. Fruit production signals a well-functioning reproductive system. That's how society looks at people too, you know? Rough. It's a rough world out there. Ensures consistent harvests. Having compatible pollinators nearby helps maintain steady fruit yields year after year. That's all you can dream of. Planting for successful cross-pollination. Bees are, yeah. So that was kind of a little bit more of the why there. I hope you got that all. I forgot everything I just read. You gotta remember, it improves fruit quality and size. I think that's the most important thing to take from that. That was from campandtreesupply.ca. I just got that info from there. It looks like it was an article posted by themselves there. I'm not too sure what this is. Maybe a tree supply. Who would have thunk? Camp and Tree Supply. Couldn't tell you. And then just a little bit more into the blueberries here before I wrap this up. Just a little bit of a fun fact I saw here. Excuse me. Cross-pollinating blueberries by planting multiple different varieties that bloom at the same time significantly improves crop success. This practice results in larger berries and higher yields, which is a 10 to 100% increase. Early ripening and better overall fruit quality, while many varieties are self-fertile. Cross-pollination provides superior results. So It's again like you can definitely with blueberries. It sounds like plant whichever like you can plant one if you'd like, or if you only have the space for one. But if you can plant two or three, you're just going to be getting a lot more. Like it sounds like it's just going to be like um, a better berry you're getting out of it. Yeah, it's got some pairing suggestions here. So maybe people have obviously done of what they think is kind of gives them the best crop. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Little tidbit on cross pollination. So fun facts for you there. Do with it what you will. Yeah. Yeah, that was for mostly with fruit trees. I don't exactly know how that works with just like normal. Like, I think like it doesn't matter too much. I don't think with other stuff because they're just like they're pollinating the flowers, and like bees are getting something out of that pollination, right? But they're not really. I don't think like cross pollination would affect like a bloom of a flower. Like I don't think cross pollination is gonna make a flower nicer. But I could be wrong. Maybe I'll have that answer for you next time. Let me write that down. Paul. Work with blooming flowers. It's almost time for bed. Yeah. That's about it. I still haven't named you an annual. I said I was going to last time. So let's pull one up so I can get it for you. Let's see. One I've heard. A petunia. Yep. I told you I'd get back at you with an annual. It's a petunia. Oh. Haven't heard of many of these. Canna lily. I've heard of that one. That's pretty much it. Sweet. Oh, I thought it says sweet Elysium, but I thought it said sweet asylum. Sounds terrible. Salvia. Sunflower. That makes sense. Lobelia. I've heard of that one. Yep. All right. Okay, maybe the next one I'll deep dive into like annuals. Maybe a little more in depth about that as opposed to my first initial just description. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you learned something. I've learned a little bit more. And again, this is info that I had no idea about. And hopefully I can share that with people out there. Have a good day. Ciao.